We have a winner of Survivor 50, and I am chatting with them. Now, if you haven't watched, please know that spoilers are ahead. Although, how have you not watched yet? Watch. So, okay, Survivor 50, what a season. Dan's had a lot to say about this season. And let me say, I was at the live taping of the finale, and I almost didn't go because live tapings just aren't my thing. And boy, am I glad that I went, because that was a live taping that was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. Primarily because Jeff Probst, the host of the show, we all know he kind of screwed up a little bit by spoiling something in the final that he shouldn't have. And the room when that happened was mayhem. Everyone was like, woo, 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 woo. I mean, it was quite literally a thing to experience, and I'm so glad I was there to experience it live. I also have to say, I got to meet Gayle King in person, which, we love Gayle King. I mean, she's not Survivor, but I was excited to meet her because I interviewed her before, and she's like one step away from Oprah. Of course I want to meet Gayle King. And I also got to see my old high school classmate, Nikki Glazer, while I was there. She's a fan of the show. I didn't know she was going to be there, and her and I literally graduated high school together. So that was great to see. But it's all about Survivor, and ooh, that live taping. I mean, it was alive. It was alive, and I'm so glad Survivor 50 brought back the live finale taping, and I hope we get more of it because it was quite an experience, and not just because of Jeff's screw up. It was an experience. Also, to see the winner accept, again, Aubrey. She won. She won Survivor 50. She played a quiet game. A lot of people said she was playing from the middle, and she got it out in the end. She won the most votes, handedly won Survivor 50. And so I chatted with her about that, about her quiet game and sort of the accusations of her playing in the middle, how she's processing winning $2 million, and also some of the things that people were saying during the jury deliberation, and having Cirie, support you, which is what she ultimately had in the end. She gets emotional about Cirie's support, and Cirie is an icon of Survivor, and so to have that support meant a lot to Aubrey, and my chat with her is fantastic. So we're going to start things off with Aubrey today, but I'm also chatting with everyone from the remaining, because everyone who remained, the top 5, were all a part of each other's game in some capacity, and they all impacted each other's game. So I wanted to chat with all of them to sort of get a sense of how it all sort of transpired. And so my next chat is going to be with Jonathan. Jonathan came in second. He got 3 votes, and which is great, but it wasn't enough. And Jonathan definitely is processing how he got just those 3 votes. I mean, he's taking it hard, and we had a really interesting chat about that, but also some of the things that Tiffany said when she exited. So Tiffany was in 5th place. She went out right before fire making, and she made some accusations that were I wouldn't say they were pointed, but they were really poignant. So the outside world comes into Survivor in all kinds of ways. And Tiffany was making the case that her and Joe had the same track record, same number of wins, same all of that. But why were they targeting Tiffany and not Joe? And she was alluding to that she obviously is a different type of player. She's very a loud personality. She's very much, abrasive in terms of how she's very forward in how she plays the game. She's very direct in how she plays the game. And I, for one, love it. But also too, she is a Black woman playing the game. She is the last Black woman standing playing the game. And that has to be a consideration for her. And that's in her mind. Of course, that's in her mind. And so Jonathan visibly reacted to some of the things that she was saying during her tribal council. And I wanted to talk with Jonathan about that. And he and I had a great back and forth about sort of what he thinks about what Tiffany was saying. And then I'm going to talk with Joe. Joe was in 3rd place. He got no votes during the final, but he, I love Joe. He's like America's dad. He's just a nice guy. And he played a different game than he played in Survivor 48. And there were some accusations that Cirie openly said that people were making fun of him and how he was playing the game. And so I asked Joe about that. I also asked Joe about some of the things that Tiffany said as well, because he was a part of it. And he had to process that. And he has a really interesting take on what Tiffany said. And then, of course, I talked to Rizo, who he's going to be in history of us being a part of that Jeff Probst screw up, because it was him. He was the one that had to do fire. And it hadn't been revealed yet that he had lost in fire. And then Jeff sort of spoiled it for everybody, and then mayhem ensued. So Rizzo and I talked a little bit about that and what that experience was like standing next to Jeff as that was happening and him kind of losing his mind. And then also too how Rizzo is sort of processing where he placed in the game and his legacy in the game. He's such a young guy to have to play 2 seasons back to back. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. So Rizzo and I had a great chat about that. And then I'm ending things today with America's sweetheart, as Joe calls her, Tiffany. Tiffany played a fantastic game, and she really got the fans behind her. I mean, it was a standing ovation when she came out last night at the live taping. And so she had a huge impact. And so in what she was saying in her exit, I wanted to speak with her because, Jonathan and Joe both commented on how Tiffany sort of perceived her own place in the game, and they had their thoughts. And I wanted to get Tiffany's thoughts on sort of what she meant by some of those words and how she just feels about sort of the fan love that she received from playing Survivor this season. So sit back and grab a snack because we're going to start things off today with the winner of Survivor 50, Aubrey. First off, Aubrey, I have to say, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are you sick of hearing congratulations at this point? Because I know you heard it from hundreds, thousands of people.
Oh, no, I'm so grateful for it. It's been 10 years,
Yeah.
since I lost Survivor Co. Wrong
Yeah.
as of May 18th. So I'll take all the congrats I can get.
Well, and also, I mean, how are you awake right now? Have you slept at all? Because you just won not even 12 hours ago.
Yeah, I'm a toddler mom, so I'm powering through. I don't drink. I just taking it in. I'm on adrenaline.
So tell me, when did you, because to see you react live, I was there, and to see you react live, it was such a special thing that we've kind of missed on Survivor because we've seen the edited versions and over the past few years. So to see it live, what was that experience like for you? Tell me what you were feeling in the moment.
It's so funny. When I'm in the high stakes situations in Survivor, I usually don't get emotional. And then when I'm by myself, I do. I was just very in the moment. It was just like 10 years built up and just such a relief to finally know the votes and just so grateful. It's been 10 years and Survivor 50 has had so many stakes and it's just I don't even have the words. It was unbelievable.
So was there a moment in the game that you ever thought, "Oh, I might win this"? Like, was there ever a moment when you felt something shifting that you might either make it to the end or that your game was going in a good direction?
I felt like things were going in the good direction after the Aussie vote because that's when I really, for the first time, felt like I had like a galvanized group of people. I was very much a floater playing the middle. And when I got to the Aussie vote, I knew that Joe, Jonathan, and Rizzo were the people I wanted to play to the end with, and that Devin, Cirie, and Tiffany needed to go.
And I always wonder because you have players like Ozzy and like Cirie
Yeah.
that you're competing with, and they suck up a lot of energy in the room, especially in the fandom of Survivor.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
definitely a lot of it. I mean, I think last night was a great example of the love that people have for Cirie. So, like, how do you navigate a game when you're working with players that are
Mhm.
as big as them? Like, what?
Sure.
Like, my thinking is get them out first. you know?
Sorry, I'm like, no, no, no. Well, I mean, the thing about Cerie is I'm really lucky. I've played with her on Game Changers, and I know how she moves in the game. And I feel like I know when Cerie is starting to lose trust or when someone's like playing too hard to try to be with her. I think that there's something that happens in Survivor where you have known entities and like known shields. And I think the beautiful thing for me is that I went into Survivor 50. I was in casting. I'm like, if Cerie's on this season, like she has to go to like 6 with me.
Yeah.
I know I have that mutual respect. I love her to death, but I can't sit at the end with her. And I think she probably feels the same way about me. And so she was always a known person and a known shield. And if I had taken her out too soon, then who would be the threats? She was the best player in that game by far. And I would rather work knowing who she was.
Was there? I mean, how did it feel last night when? I mean, you're watching it, so it's in real time, but or
Yeah.
not last night, but really at the when the jury was sort of asking their questions, and there was a moment, and you could feel it in the audience that was palpable when Cirie responded to Steph in a back and forth, and it it almost, for the audience at least, it felt like, "Oh, Cirie's got Aubrey. Like, this is the vote."
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm just so grateful to her. I love Cirie. I didn't have support in Co Wrong. It was a really challenging jury. I thought I played a good game and it was brutal. It just meant the world to me. I love Cirie. We didn't, our ships passed in the night in this game very much so. Like she was locked up at the merge. I didn't have people. It just wasn't meant to be, but game respected game. And gosh, I just was so grateful to her that she saw me because I felt like I played a more subtle, nuanced game, but I felt like, it was an intuitive game, but I felt like Cerise saw it and articulated it. And I was so grateful.
And there was another moment during the jury deliberation that everyone is talking about when, and I just listen, this might be the gay dude in me, but I just love a lady that goes to the end and then shows the
Thank
boys
you.
how it's done. I just
Thank
love
you.
it,
Thank
and
you. I liked that too.
oh god, it was so delicious. You
Thank
couldn't have
you.
I mean, as a writer, you couldn't have scripted it better.
Right?
And
Yeah.
when Ozzy said that Jonathan and Joe kept saying, "Don't play to the middle," and then you're literally in the middle. How did that, I mean, in the moment, did you, when you were sitting there receiving Ozzy's statement, did you just go, "Oh shit, that was good"?
Oh, so good, and I was like, "Cirie," I was so grateful. I mean, I blindsided Ozzy with an idol in his pocket with the rest of the tribe, and I was like, "Ozzy, you are so," like, yes, you see it. Man, Ozzy's, like, done so much work on himself and just, like, was so willing to see all the perspectives, and Ozzy and I bonded over that, and he had my back, and I was so grateful to him, Cirie, Tiff, and everybody else who stood up for me.
Was there any moment that, you watched that maybe you were surprised by, or either a
Yeah.
statement from a player or anything like that that maybe stood out to you?
In the final tribal?
Yeah, in the final tribal or just in general from this season, was there anything that you saw that
Yeah.
genuinely surprised you?
Yeah, so I always had an intuition that Rizzo was up to more than we saw, but damn, I did not know he'd done that work with Cirie and Ozzy. I knew Ozzy and Cirie were together, but I did not realize how tightly aligned Rizzo was with them, and he kept it under wraps so well.
And when I then, speaking of Rizzo, I have to ask, what do you make of that the first Jeff Probst like snub? I've never seen it in my life, and the audience was gobsmacked.
Yeah, I truly was in my own little world, worried about if I won Survivor or not, and I just kinda heard something happen, Jeff owned it, moved on, and that's all
Yeah,
I really
it
paid
was
attention
such
to, quite frankly.
it actually was a very endearing moment, I have to say.
Yeah,
But
he owned that shit and moved on. It was
you
great.
you have to, you
You
have
want
to,
to.
you just have to. Well, then I need to know, what are you gonna do with the money?
I gotta take Devins and his wife Becca out to a really nice dinner for sure, and then I'll probably put that money away for my son. Life's not getting any cheaper, so
No, it isn't. But
I
it's
wanna make sure he's set up.
but what do you make of, I mean, you're the first player in Survivor history to win $2,000,000.
It's
Like,
crazy. I
that
don't
is
even I can't even process it.
you have the big check behind you.
I do. Thank you, Gail and Jeff. It's wild.
Amazing, amazing. Well, then I get my last question for you
Sure.
is, you have so you've been in Survivor a long time. You know the fan base. And one thing that I remember talking with Ozzy about this, the fan base has changed over the years, particularly with Survivor
Mhm,
started before social media, and
mm,
and
mm.
it has navigated through the world of social media and now has become a beast of social media. But
It
the
has.
pl- the players have had to navigate their own
Yeah.
almost game and life through how social media reacts to you.
Yeah.
And so, how do you, as someone who's been with this game for so long, how how do you navigate the fans sometimes that can be a little interesting, I'll say, to
A
say the
little
least.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it can be hard, and it's hard to see when your friends are going through it too, like, sometimes it's even harder to see that. You have to have a very stable core, you have to know who you are, you have to have people in your life who remind you who you are and why they care about you. It's really about doing that inner work because that external validation, if you get addicted to it, will kill you. It's really, really hard. Yeah, it's just wild. I mean, like, Survivor does teach you, like, this is how we treat each other. But at this point, I'm like, you could say whatever you want, and it probably would. I'm like, I've heard it all.
Yeah,
Got an
exactly.
ugly face, I'm horrible in real life, like, you name it, and it's and then you start to notice the usual suspects who are always picking on you, and then the people that defend you, and it's just like the other thing too is if you're gonna take in the good on social media, you also have to be willing to take in the bad.
Yeah.
So if, like, the bad is 0 and the top of the game is 100, and I've been the robbed person according to people, and then I've flopped according to people, and I'm at 0. I try to remain between, like, 30 to 60. I try to, like, pay attention to the people who are in there.
Yeah. Well, I saw a thing last night where someone was saying Survivor is for, the women, the gays, and the theys because and the fandom at least, because that's the people who really sort of navigate and narrate how we perceive the game on social
Yes,
media, and
yes.
you winning and the way in which that last episode transpired was exactly for all of us, and it made us feel so good. So thank you for taking the
Thank
time to
you
chat with
so
me.
much.
Of course.
Absolutely. It was really nice talking to you.
And congratulations again.
Thank you. Have
Wonderful. Have a good
fun,
one. Take care.
everybody. You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Next, I'm going to speak with Jonathan. Like I said, I wanted Jonathan to sort of respond to some of what Tiffany had said during her tribal council, but also how Jonathan is processing the 3 votes that he got and his overall performance. Jonathan, hello. It's nice to see you.
Good to see you, my friend.
I have to say, first off, congratulations on a fantastic game.
Oh, so close, yet so far away.
Like Jeff said, 3 votes is definitely not something to be angry about if you get any at that final because it becomes such a heated back and forth. So I guess that my first question is, how do you feel?
I'm if I'm vulnerable, it's been difficult seeing $2 million and then a car. That's a lot to handle because I didn't know exactly where the votes were going. I had a good idea, but it was hard. It was a hard night.
And I would say you would look good in that car. I'll say that.
Thank you. I'm a
That
Toyota guy too. I got a Toyota truck at home.
Yeah, I could see you in that car, I'll be honest.
Thank you.
But let's talk about your game a little bit. So, like, you had a fantastic game, and especially from physical perspective, but also from your prior season, a social perspective as well. I mean, you definitely navigated it in a really interesting way. So, like, what is something to you that stands out that was markedly different about your game this go around?
I had a lot more strategy. My hand was almost on every single vote that was at the merge or after the merge. I had something to do with all of it, and that was I think Rizzo might have said that. And I played with the old school and the new school. I just didn't think that the one that was in the middle that floated to the top would get all those votes. That kind of threw me because I would have thought that the jury was going to vote a little different because we're returning players.
Mhm. And what was it about Ozzy narrated that middle moment so well that as a writer, and I told Aubrey this too, you couldn't even have scripted it better. It was just so cinematic that line that Ozzy had. But like, what was it about Aubrey being in the middle and the middle in general that stands out to you as something that became such a big part of the game in the end?
I've been thinking about that. I'm not exactly sure because sometimes in the jury, they don't like it when you had nobody to stand with or you didn't stick with an alliance. That is sometimes looked at as a bad thing. So it really depends on who is voting and who is bitter and who's not, and who, what they, I think even what happened in past seasons affected this vote because there is a big underdog story there. If you think about the story that is Aubrey.
And you know, we had it with the Tiffany conversation as well. There's a big conversation between the big players in this game, the physical ones, the physical threats, the ones that can sort of dominate in that area. And then I'll say the Cirie type players where they can play a
Mhm.
really strong social game. And Aubrey's definitely in that I think category in a lot of ways. And I think for people watching, there is this real separation between the types of people, the types of players that do well in Survivor. And I think you and Joe definitely are examples of one type of player that does really well. And then Aubrey's an example of another type of player that does really well. And so, like, when you said you would come back for a third time, does seeing how that other type of player plays this game impact a possible future game that you might want to play?
Well, I think even to an extent, I did play a lot more strategic, and I looked at that last game, and I took a lot of what I saw from people like Omer and Boston Rob. So it's not even necessarily just that. I think even looks have a big part of it. Like the way I dress, I try not to be that big guy. I try to wear baggy clothes and stuff. I don't want to be. I don't even look at myself as just some big guy. But I think at the end of the day, like most people even describe me when they're talking about Survivor is like the big guy because looks matter on Survivor. It
Yeah.
really does. How you look and how you sound, my deep voice. I will be categorized, I think, like that a lot, and I don't think there's anything I can do about it, even if my strategy is off the
Yeah.
charts.
Well, I mean, even the show is showing you in that way. I mean, there was that shot that everyone's talking about, the drone shot of you laying on the beach and then it pans out and it was just like, I mean, I'll be honest, it's like an Adonis laying on a beach and you're just sort of sunbathing and you're He-Man out there ready to jump up and like lift up a literal human. I mean, even Jeff says it. You can lift up a literal human. So
Um,
you can't disassociate what who you are and how you look from and what you can do from the type of player like, you could never be an Aubrey in that way, you know? Like, so there is that.
right.
So how do you then like, how does that get in your head? How does it change sort of how you view even a game you can potentially play?
That's a great question because you're like you said, I can't look, I can't be like I can't even have the story of Aubrey, and I think, like, everything that you just said has to do with the vote, right? So, um, I guess my next order of business would be watching 50 back like I did 42 and just critique my game and figure out how to relate to people the way that will benefit me in the jury. Because, I mean, if you go back and watch like Dee's season, the way that she played, you would think she would like a cutthroat game because she plays a cutthroat game.
Yeah.
Like she flirted with a dude and used that in her advantage. She like got a guy to fall in love with her and that helped her win, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I used similar gameplay to get her out, and it wasn't looked at as a pro. It was actually looked at as a disadvantage because she ends up voting for Aubrey, someone she never even played with. She never played with Aubrey one day, and she saw my game and she saw how I flipped the script on her, and she didn't respect that. So there's a point where you go, well, that's just bitter. But there's also a point of what can I do to not make these people bitter against me? And I don't know that yet. That's something I'm still working on.
Well, I mean, and I also think Tiffany brought it up in her tribal council moment when she was voted out. And that was something that I mean, you could tell that you were bothered by what she was saying in that tribal only because she was saying about, you know, that you were saying it's not personal, it's not about you. And you could see even in that moment that you were having a struggle with trying to convey to the person the disassociation between the person and the game and what needs to happen for the move. And so, like, I wanna know if you could, A, respond to that moment in the episode last night.
Absolutely. That's one thing, dude. That's a great point because when I see a moment like that, I get confused. I really do. I get confused because I look at Tiffany like this great player, and I just look at Ozzy like a great player, and I look at them and I go, well, they obviously know this game. They play it well. They'll see that this, if I can explain to them that it has nothing to do with someone as a person, because it genuinely doesn't. This is just a game to me. It's not, I would vote for anyone and everyone if I thought they played a good game. And that's the truth. And I feel like when you start thinking that it's about you, then you're losing the sight of the game and you think that it's because I don't know. I don't know. I can't figure that one out yet because I genuinely think Tiffany's just a good player and that she would beat me. So, and when you try to explain that to somebody and they don't think that's the case, I don't know what to do.
And she brought up a really interesting point in that, like, when it comes to numbers, her and Joe were exactly in the same position. So voting her out obviously is more personal. There is a because part of her game is her personality, is her social strategy, and Joe and hers games are very different. So I think she was making a point about that, about how, and I think that's probably the real difference is that, you know, and also too. let's be real, people look at women, people look at people of color, people look at queer people in a different way when they exist in the world than they do a, straight white dude. And so there is a difference there that then people have perceptions in that way. And so I think that kind of, I mean, at least as a viewer, that's how we received it, was that like she's obviously feeling seen in a different way because of all of the reasons she explained on the show. So I think that like, and that's a really interesting game because that's the wonderful thing about Survivor is it brings the real world into Survivor in a really complex, interesting way that makes players like you think about what does this mean, and how does it impact your game then in a lot of ways too,
Let me respond to that because that's the whole point of me saying that is because it's coming from a place of I think you're better than. I think you are good at this. And if you don't think, that's why I have to reassure her that that is not the case because I would never in a million years do what, for example, you say people look at that as a negative or whatever. That is not, I would never do that. And that's why it comes from a place of confusion because I look at Tiffany as a tough, good player that would beat me. That's why I was confused. It's not because we would never vote Tiffany. I know I would never vote for Tiffany. That's absurdity
Yeah.
for it to be for a reason like that. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm confused. Not of so if Tiffany's playing better than me, that's what I think of because I'm thinking about the game and I think she could beat me. And if she doesn't think of if it's coming from a place like that, then I wouldn't understand because I would never use a reason like that to vote someone off. That would that would be I would yeah, oh man. Yeah, that is not it.
Yeah, and
So
it's an interesting thing to think about too, and I think that's the great thing about your game is that, like, you're open to thinking about and having and really studying it because you do study the seasons after you play, and I think that's key to sort of any future games that you play, which I'm excited to see you play. So, like,
right.
my last question for you is how so you have this experience and the world sees it, and, it's a very different experience from playing it to when people get to watch it and then react to it. And so, like, how do you navigate the social media of it all? Because everyone has a lot of opinions. After a
Mm.
game like yours, does it impact sort of even how you play the game going? Is the fandom a part of any future game that you play?
Oh man. I mean, I always want to do a good job to the fan because the name of the game is in the hands of the fans. So you obviously want to play a game that is worthy to even be in the seat. That's what I asked Mr. Jeff when I was out there was like, did I do enough? Am I uh, keeping that seat warm for the next person? Am I doing enough to be in this seat? And that's what I worried about is because I wanted to play so hard that it wasn't a question as if Jonathan should come back or if Jonathan deserved to be here. And I do believe I did that because I that's one thing that I'll do. I'll give everything that I have. I even at the fire making challenge, I burnt my hand because I pushed the fire together to
Mm,
make it burn the rope because I give everything that I have.
wonderful. Well, Jonathan, it was great chatting with you. You played a great game. It was great watching you.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Have a good one. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Next, I'm going to talk with Joe. Of course, Joe. I mean, I love Joe. Joe's America's dad. But we also talked about that comment from Cirie and how people were making fun of Joe, is what she said, and how I thought it was kind of a bit of a low blow. Hey, Joe. Fantastic to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Same. Same, same, same.
It was, first off, so good to see you back on Survivor 50. I have to say that. And
Thank
it was
you.
so good to see you go as far as you went. And also,
Mhm.
I still feel this from our last chat, watching that season, your previous season, and then even with this season, even though you became a more multidimensional person in our eyes, you're still just that dad from Survivor. You're like America's dad in a lot. I think everyone wants you to be their dad.
Yeah.
How does
Thank
that
you.
feel?
Thank
How
you.
does that feel to have
That's
that
an
be?
amazing. Thank you for framing it that way. I think I think you would respect this. I honestly just try to be me. I really do, and I've tried to fit that around Survivor, but it's just cool when you know it's not an act. It's
Mm,
just not an act. It's just genuinely me being vulnerable, and I say that and for you to deliver that back to me means the world to me because I was just trying to be me. And then I know it's not perfect.
Yeah, but it was great to watch. I will say it was
Thank
great
you.
to watch. And so
Thank you.
how do you feel? I mean, listen, it's not easy going into a final tribal and then not getting those votes. It's not easy. That's not a good play. Like it's not a good feeling, I'm sure. So how does it feel in the post tribal sort of the final tribal?
Honestly, it feels amazing.
Yeah.
And this is why. And it feels amazing because it's not this, oh, I'm just trying to put rose colored lenses on this. It's this that I look at it out of 2 seasons. I go to make it the final 3. And on top of that, I never had my torch snuffed. Not voted out, but torch snuffed. There's a difference in that too. In the history of Survivor, in the top 3, tied for the top 3 overall immunity challenges. You know, I look at the moment with Eva. I look at the fact that my name only written down 1 time in 2 seasons. And overcoming these things isn't look at me pat on the back. It's more about how I frame this final 3 is before I let the Survivor world tell me how I should feel after my first season. Man, it's really bad. You know, how did you lost? And I go, that's not how I felt though. And I wore it because that's what the community told me I should. And I go, no, like now I'm gonna let it. I stood up for my sister. I got amazing things done outside of the game. And it was all from Survivor. And I feel damn proud. I really am. I feel proud. I really do.
That's amazing. Well, I needed to get your reaction to when we were watching sort of the jury ask their questions. Cirie had some. I will never say anything bad about Cirie, but I will say the response as a viewer watching Cirie's comment felt a little bit like a low blow. And so,
Yep.
if from my experience, from me watching, and that's
Yep.
just me, but like, how did it feel for you hearing what Cirie had to say about people? Essentially, her saying they were making fun of you
Yeah.
in their back and forth.
You know what's funny is like and this is what I'll say. Isn't it crazy how certain players, right, can say some things and it's almost forgiven. Other players do the same thing and they would be completely throttled in these precedents, right? I just put that there as like that's a fascinating piece to me. But I'll say this. I'll say this. I am never on my exit press as long as I continue to have them, which is a blessing. Will blast anybody, even if they blast me. I don't feel that it's the place to do that. But I'll tell you the truth. Like, here's the vulnerable side. In my real life and in Survivor. Oh, it gets me emotional. Sorry. It's like in this interview, I trust you, I respect you, and you personally. But if I wasn't, I would just be yes, no,
Yeah.
great. The interview would not flow. I would just give you yes or no. In the game, if I'm trying to build a friendship with you for an alliance, I'm going to be vulnerable with you that I wouldn't normally do. I'm going to share things with you and another out there. I'm going to be that more dramatic version of yourself because I'm truly like venting and then I'm going to put back on the face and go. Had I known those feelings were going to be used against me, I can treat my enemies and I can treat people I don't mess with very direct. If you go back to season 48, there's a moment with me and Say on the beach when I'm cracking walnuts. We sit there awkwardly. I don't say a word. I did that the entire game. Other players will say the same. There's moments I didn't say a word to players the entire game because I had this wall up. But what is difficult is when you're trying to play with one of the best, you're trying to then navigate things. I'll never talk poorly about anybody on their season. They don't deserve that. But it's hard when it's like, hey, you could say, sure, I was being managed. And there's people that know me that would never say that in a million years because they never got that side of me.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah. Well, I want to also get your response to, I think one for me watching Tiffany's tribal when she was voted out. She was making
Yep.
some interesting points, and she brought up a comparison to you, and your name was mentioned. That's why I want to ask you about it.
Of course.
That Tiffany and you had the same track record,
Right.
and that vote, she was comparing both of you, her and you, and then Jonathan very visibly was it felt offended, but also was trying to defend himself and trying to disassociate the person from the strategy and all of that. I don't think he did that very well. And
Right.
so what is your response to the point she was trying to make?
Here's what I think is crazy about it. You know, it's like this. Tiffany. So there's a Ferrari, which is her, and a Pinto, me. They're both cars, but they both have motors. So yeah, you could argue like we're both cars. Like, aren't they the same? Wouldn't you buy the same on the same lot? This isn't CrossFit games where we're just talking about challenges. That's crazy to me. Like to say that in one hand, all we're evaluating is challenges. Well, then let's vote that way. Let's just vote on who's the challenge beast. I'm in. Then I would take you to the end, and I have all confidence I would win that argument.
Yeah.
If we're just looking at it as challenges, it's crazy to me to go, Tiffany, a player like you is so good. Everybody on the jury is your friend. They like you. It's that simple. To bring challenges in it is almost, there was a lot of emotion there. I get it. There was a lot of other factors, but you sit there, they don't vote for you because you won challenges. They vote for you because you're brilliant, you're America's sweetheart, they're your friends, and you're gonna crush us. It was crazy to me to say that, well, I've won as many challenges as them, you should vote them out too.
Yeah.
Listen, that's like, you name a jury that goes, who won the most challenges? Raise your hand.
Mm.
Well, I'm going to tie this vote up because out of all of you that have won the most challenges, I'm going to pick one of you.
Yeah.
They never, listen, the reason why we're not on the same page is you were loved
Yeah.
by the jury.
Yeah.
So that's my pushback respectfully is like, it wasn't even, and I'm giving her the credit. She's the Ferrari. I said I was the Pinto. It's like, you can't, you're just comparing motors that aren't the same.
Yeah.
You were in a different light. And it was also another like, you had to throw that jab when it was like, hey, in all reality, I can go down the list of people that would have absolutely voted for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, you had to go.
Well, briefly, I need to wrap things up with asking about, Ozzy had a moment where he mentioned you and Jonathan saying, "Don't play in the middle, don't play in the middle," sort
Yep.
of and then it was quite literally narrated in the most beautiful way because Aubrey was literally in the middle. And
Yeah.
and it was just as a writer, I got tingles. But it was such a moment that I want to know if A, get you to respond to Aubrey's win, of course, but also B, that comment about she played a very different game than
Yeah.
you and Jonathan. And although
Yep.
I'll say you had a very different game from Jonathan. Yours was more social than it was physical, even though there was a physical element to it. So what do you make of that comment of her winning from the middle?
It's tough. It's like it's hard when people say, well, you guys voted this way, but you also said you wanted them out. In the game, you're making moves to get through the next day. So to say that, well, you didn't want the middle to win, but the middle wins, it's like, yeah, but we also couldn't sit against, think about this. We can't sit against Aussie. I can't sit against Cirie. I can't sit against Tiffany. I can't sit against Rick with what he did. I can't sit against Christian now it's like, go down the list of, well, there is no middle. If these players are middle in terms of their strategic. Middle implies that they're irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
She was not irrelevant. She's just smart enough to blend in both elements. That's a key difference. And two, to Aubrey, she just, look at how she understood. She took her losses and her wins and everything she did in Survivor, and she applied it in the most poetic way. She was able to give you a beginning, middle, and end,
Yeah.
and she tied it up in a good bow.
Yeah.
And if that's not poetry, I don't know what is.
Exactly. Well, Joe, it's fantastic chatting with you again. Fantastic seeing you, and it was
Thank
great
you.
seeing you on TV again.
Thank you. And you know what? Thank you for what you do. I'm a huge fan of yours, and just thank
Oh,
you for always being so kind.
thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot. I'll see you soon, hopefully.
See you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
The Riz God is next. Rizzo has had such an impact on the game of Survivor, and you can tell he's processing exactly that level of an impact and what he's gonna do after this. We had chatted about all those things. Rizzo, good to see you again.
Thanks. Great to see you as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the question you're probably being asked this entire every interview, the first question is the feeling in the room. I was there last night of Jeff's moment when the
Yeah.
spoiler happened. Explain to me what was going through you when he was speaking with you and you realized something was up.
Oh man, I think for me it was a lot of confusion because I was under the assumption that Jeff was going to call me after the fire loss, but not Jeff's fault at all. All the whatever the people that was running the live show basically said, when Jeff calls you, you go out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I I didn't lose fire yet. They're like, all right, figure it out. And I was like, okay. So I'm going out there trying to cue up Jeff, like whether I win or lose, Jeff, I am so proud. And I don't think Jeff picked up what I was putting down and said, have a seat to the jury. So I will say in the moment, it sucked really bad because obviously everybody in the live audience, everybody and my friends and family and all the fans that are rooting for me at home just kind of got spoiled. Like, what the heck? That's pretty anticlimactic. But looking back on it now, a day later, 10 years later, 5 years later, it's pretty iconic that I am a part of another historic Survivor moment. So I feel good in that, but it was very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you literally went from one season to another season. Like that has happened before, but never in the way that yours had transpired. And
Yeah,
how does it feel to sort of have that unique mark in this middle point? I'll say middle point, even though we're in the modern day of Survivor, I feel like there's going to be another 50 seasons. So how does it feel
yeah.
to have that level of impact this point in the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's been everything that I ever wanted. I grew up watching this show, and I talk about it endlessly in my 2 seasons, how I want to become one of the greatest players to ever play, and what's great about Survivor is that is subjective. There's a group of the fan base that think I am a great player. And there's a group of the fan base that think I'm an idiot that got lucky. So regardless, whether you hate me or love me, you can't deny the passion that I have for this game and the mark that I left, whether it's positive or negative. I think I'm a polarizing personality, and that's what you need on reality TV, especially Survivor. So I walk away with my head held high, knowing that I left my mark on Survivor 49. And at this point, the biggest season of all time, which is Survivor 50.
Yeah. Well, so let's speak of the fan base on social media because, like, it's a part of the game now. Like,
Yeah,
there are other players like Cirie who started in this game before social media was even really a thing. And now social media is such
yeah.
an integral part of the Survivor experience, particularly for players. And so, what do you make of sort of the fan involvement within Survivor, and how does it impact the type of game you play?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think Survivor fans are great. I mean, that's the reason why the show has gone on for so long. But what's very interesting is that there's so many different Survivor fans, right? You have the casual fan that watches every Wednesday, doesn't go online, anything like that. They just watch what they see on TV. Then you got a subsection that are big podcasters, a subsection that's on Twitter, on Reddit, on Instagram, all of these platforms. But what people don't really understand is, now people can make a move that they thought was best on the island. And now watching it back 10 months later, you're getting called an idiot. You should have seen it. But people sometimes forget that people don't have the bigger picture. For instance, for me, I love Cirie. I love Ozzy, but I've gotten a lot of backlash the last 2 weeks for going against everyone's favorites. But people need to remember I am there to win $2 million. This is not Backyard Survivor where it's a friendly game of Survivor. It's there to win the money. So I did what I felt was best to win the money. And some fans have appreciated that I did that, and some fans call me an idiot for taking out their faves. You can't please everyone.
Well, and so that's another question that I have is that when you're playing a game with people who take up so much space in a room, like a Cirie or like an
Yeah,
Ozzy, how that whatever, like when you're out there, there's no way you don't know that they're going to have a huge impact with viewers. Like they
for
are,
sure.
and everyone's going to point, their eyes are going to go to them. And so does it impact how you work with them in the process of playing the game? Because you started as a fan of the show, so their legacy,
Yeah.
their impact.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me personally, what I did a really great job with was not getting blinded by my fandom. I mean, you saw me align with all the greats, coach about dragons and slaying them at tribal, not at camp. My relationship with Colby, with Ozzy, with Cirie, but I was able to compartmentalize and do what I needed to do to advance myself in the game. But what I will say is, I feel like I was a little bit lucky because I was already in the mind space of Survivor, just coming right off of 49. So I wasn't really in that fan headspace where like, oh, I'm gonna play for Twitter right now. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
went out there to prove my legacy and what fans are gonna say for 1 week. Because the reality of how social media works and how we are at a time is that this is like an episode by episode, a week by week basis. So 1 week might be hated, but then week might be loved. Like the week I got out Charlie, everyone's calling me the greatest player of all time. And then I get out Cirie and they're like, you are a moron. So it's just the way that social media goes in this day and age. And I think it's great for engagement. I've been able to handle it, luckily, but sometimes it's hard for players.
How do you decide, you can't really play that much of a different game than you previously played because like you said, you didn't have much time in
Yeah,
between seasons. And yet, the person who won, Aubrey, great player, but there's a lot of talk around her playing and winning from the middle, like they
yeah,
said that. So, but you obviously played, I wouldn't say a loud game, but your personality is out there. You have a lot of confidence, like Jeff said.
yeah.
So like, what do you make of someone winning from the middle? And does that sort of impact a future game you might play if you're ever asked back?
So what's really interesting is I actually, in many ways, I played very similarly in 49. I found a trio alliance that I really worked with, and I had an idol that I kept all the way to the end. But in many ways, it was very different because in 49, I was super, super loyal to my trio in Savannah, Sophie, and I because I felt that I had a good chance of beating them at the end. We go to 50 now, where I'm in a trio with Cirie, Ozzy, and I, where I know I can't beat them at the end. So I kind of play this little middle position. I was aligned with D. I was aligned with Coach and his honor and integrity people. I was aligned with Joe and Jonathan at the end game. So in many ways, I was playing a very similar game to Aubrey. I just felt like I was a little bit more insulated than Aubrey, but she was kind of in the bottom as the underdog, where I was kind of the person that was burning a lot of the jury, and whether they were upset that I was the new kid on the block beating them, or whether they hated my confidence or whatever it was, I felt like I was burning people a little bit more, but that's because people didn't know how well I played Survivor 49. You can hear the placement, oh, he lost fire, but you didn't see the tape of what I did, right? So I think if I ever do come back again, or even just future players, playing from the middle is a hard game to play because you either master it and get to the end, or you play it like how I played it and you piss people off. So you got to know how to ride the middle while playing the middle.
Yeah. Well, there was a moment last night during the live taping. I remember in the audience. I was sitting in the audience, and you were talking about, and you were getting emotional about sort of, the making fire again, and how you didn't want to be in that place. And you're sitting there and you're talking, and everyone is getting emotional, and then all of a sudden you spell out Riz God, and you like, and people laugh, and even though you're doing it through tears, but I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, get this guy a burger. Because your body, for going from 49 to 50, physically probably had one of the most dramatic years of your life ever
Yeah.
with what you had to do with Survivor. So like, how what was the how was it getting back into a normal routine after
Yeah.
all of that?
Yeah, so to put in perspective, I started day 1 of Survivor 49, 174 pounds. I finished day 25 of Survivor 50, 128. So you do the math, 45, 46 pounds I lost. It was insane. I will say I'm very lucky for being very young and pretty active and fit. I didn't like get a nutritionist. I didn't do any of that. I literally just ate like all the food that I want and then just work out. And it took me like maybe 3 to 6 months to fully gain my normality. As you can see, I look really good, big guns. But I was really a shell of myself. I got a photo from like our final five challenge, and I had my shirt off for a moment, and I was like, oh my God, I literally see my ribs. That is insane. And just watching it back is crazy, the difference of my appearance from now to then, even from my day 1 of 49 to day 50.
Yeah. Well, my last question for you is, like you said, you are young, and to have had this level of a Survivor experience this young is rare in the game of Survivor. I think maybe Ozzy might be the only one who had something similar to that. Like you
Yeah.
really don't have, there aren't many examples of that. And so what do you do now? I mean, you can't go back to Survivor next season or even two
Yeah.
seasons. You need a break. So like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
It's a great question. I think I'm going to do what I do best, go back to my normal day life, spending it with my girlfriend and my family and figuring out what else I want to do. I mean, honestly, I know people sometimes run with reality TV as in like, I did Survivor, I'll go do all these other shows, but I went on to Survivor because it was my favorite show of all time. And I'm kind of loyal to Survivor. I feel like if other opportunities present itself and I'm kind of aligned with it, I would absolutely do it. I would love to do the Amazing Race with my girlfriend. I think we would be so, so good. But honestly, I don't have my eyes set on anything. Like, I mean, if the traders call, maybe I pick it up. I don't know. But honestly, I think for me, I've always wanted to play Survivor, and I want to keep it that way.
Yeah, great. Well, it was great seeing you on TV again. You did a fantastic job. You
Thank
seemed really
you.
happy about yourself.
Thank you so much, Alan.
Wonderful. Have a good one. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And now I'm ending things with Tiffany, who, I mean, she won everyone's heart this season of Survivor 50, but she also said some really pointed things during her exit about identity and what it means to be playing the type of game that she played as the person that she is. And I wanted her to respond a little bit to some of the things that Jonathan and Joe have said about how she responded during that tribal council. It's a fantastic chat. Tiffany, let me just say, first off, it was fantastic seeing you. Fantastic seeing you on TV. How are you feeling, first off?
First and foremost, thank you. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great even.
Yeah.
I am so grateful. I'm so thankful, and I'm proud. I'm proud of the show I put on. I'm proud that everybody's receiving it so well. And even though I didn't win, I think I played a great game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Joe that said it, that you're America's sweetheart. You really are. I mean, you just everyone responded to you in such a positive, wonderful way that it just must feel so good.
It felt incredible. Um, I'll admit when I woke up yesterday morning, I was kind of sad. I was kind of nervous. I was anxious. I cried in the shower. I cried in the dressing rooms, thinking about going out there. I was really like emotional on the stage during rehearsals because I just didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I knew how the game ended, and I was really proud of the game I played, but I was nervous of what everybody else would think because there was a lot of questions with me going into the season, like, you know, "What's she doing here? Out of all the people, why is Tiffany here?" I came in as the player with the lowest placement from our previous season, and to walk out onto that stage to a standing ovation and just receive that love, it made all the fears, all the anxieties dissipate, and it just validated me in a way that allowed me to see that I did what needed to be done.
Yeah. During your tribal, this is something that I've been thinking a lot about. You know, I think about this a lot, that the outside world does come into Survivor a lot of times, and you can't, I would say, for myself as a queer person, or for you as a Black woman, or, you know, anyone of any sort of other race or anything, you experiences in life are different. And you can't, I joke that I walk around with a purse and I'm Nathan Lane from the Birdcage. So like, you know who I am when I walk into a room.
Yes.
And but people receive you in that way. And I don't want to put words into what you were saying, but as a person from a marginalized community sitting in the audience listening to you and what you were saying in your tribal about how the comparisons between you and Joe and your track records, so why are you viewed differently? It really hit. It really hit in a way that I don't know if that was the intention. I don't know what your intention there was. I'd love to know that, but it hit. And I want to say it was received in that way from someone like me.
Yeah. Um, I think you got the message exactly how it was intended to be received. It was a question that I had, and it was something that I actually struggled with throughout the game because I am a woman that is I have a powerful presence. I have a powerful appearance. I cannot hide behind the facade of being anything other than what I am. And that was something that I dealt with since the beginning of the game. Even before I started wearing the immunity necklace. At that first tribal council where they got rid of D and I caught 4 stray votes, I remember having a conversation with Joe and I'm like, why are y'all throwing votes on me? Like, what is it about me? There's mad people on this island. Why are y'all coming at me? I've never even, you know, won an immunity necklace before. Because at that point, I have never won an individual immunity before.
Mhm.
And he's like, "Well, look at you. You're strong. You're a beast." Like,
Yeah.
and in my head, I'm like, "There's a lot of strong people out here on this island. Why are y'all looking at me?" I still didn't get an answer to that. And then fast forward to a couple weeks down the line. I mean, yeah, a couple weeks later, we're a final 5, final 6, and I'm getting teamed up on. They're like, "Tiffany's the biggest threat on the beach." And I'm like, "How did I get saddled up with that?" I know this is not just about me winning challenges. Me and Joe have the same amount of challenges. And I was really fiery in that tribal council for that reason. It's something that I have been carrying around. And I mean, this isn't like much to do with it, but I did have a conversation with Jonathan earlier in the day. And I asked him, I'm like, what is the difference between me and Joe? Why are you okay with getting beat by Joe and not by me? And he's like, well, Tiffany, you're a girl, and the record for girls is 4, and the record for guys is 8. While I'm sure he didn't understand the weight of how that came out, I didn't like how everything was being reduced to something so simple and something so silly. And it just was tough. And especially after Cirie left, I felt that weight 10 times more because I knew Cirie understood me on a level that nobody else there could. You walk into a room and what you look like, or how you navigate, how you speak, how you hold yourself is already writing your story before you even get to have the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I spoke with Joe and Jonathan this morning about that, and, I'll be this is just my opinion and coming from my receptions, but, like, it is sometimes difficult to convey, in my experience at least, to straight men how the perception of it's not just a matter of this is how it should be. Yeah, we all want it to be that way, but it's not that way. So it's like receive it this way because this is the experience. And it's difficult because their argument, and to give them credit, their argument is that you had a lot of supporters on the jury and they would vote for you in the end if you were brought to the end. And that's I think you know that too.
I
And
do.
so that to me, at least from their perspective, to give them credit, would be a reason to get rid of you. So like how do you navigate sort of the juxtaposition there of like you are a jury threat and yet also you are who you are?
Yeah. I think that's where it gets tough because I do believe that I was a serious threat. I do believe that I would have won. I do believe I had a lot of people on the jury. Well, actually, I know that to be true because the jury told me they would have voted for me.
Yeah.
But in the same time, yes, and that's not the things that were articulated to me during the game, and that's not the way I felt in some moments because supporters on the jury are not. Y'all not teaming up Aubrey in this challenge. Aubrey got mad friends on the jury too. Aubrey's played with a lot of those people over there. All the people I played with before are gone. Like Aubrey's played this game 3 or 4 times. Aubrey's brilliant,
Yeah.
but y'all are all teaming up on me. Y'all not teaming up on Joe. Me and Joe have the same amount of immunity wins.
Yeah.
There's more to it. At least that's how I felt in the moment.
Yeah. So then how do you I mean, you've done such a defense. You've definitely redeemed yourself from your previous season. And so like where do you go to from here? How do you navigate what's next for you?
I think I just want to sit in this for a little while, you know? I think I do a really bad job of sitting and appreciating my accomplishments. I'm always thinking about what's next.
Yeah.
Uh, I think this time I just wanna sit in it. I wanna enjoy this moment. I wanna continue to be proud of the game that I played, especially since this is an unfamiliar feeling. Last time I played, I wasn't proud. This time I'm bursting, you know, from the brim with pride and love and respect from people that have watched my gameplay.
Yeah.
Eventually, I hope to come back, and then I'll have to recalibrate because, again, I'm not a person that could hide behind any facade. You know who I am, and now you know what I can do. So, I'm really gonna have to sit and put some thought behind if I do ever play again, how am I gonna play? I'm gonna have to revitalize my game again because it's gonna have to be different. I'm no longer the dark horse.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, as someone I mean, I've been a stand-up for years and performer, and I love the way audience I can feel the wave of an audience, and even just watching how they were watching your video packages last night during the live, airing, and seeing and feeling in the room how people were responding to little things you did out there on the beach and conversations when you were trying to, stay another day. And you just had everybody in the palm of your hands, and that for a performer or for anyone who loves an audience, that's something that you can just never, ever, ever not want more of, and it's such a special thing, so you did something really special, and you should be very proud of yourself.
I'm so proud. I'm so grateful. I just I'm happy because rarely do you go out and do something and then you get to reap the rewards right away, or it gets to come back exactly how you pictured it.
Yeah,
I picture me playing this exact game. I picture me being this good. I picture me being this threatening. I picture me getting to the end. The only difference between this and how I pictured it is that I came up one puzzle piece short and I didn't make it to the next round. But there's not too many things that I would change about the game that I did play.
Mhm.
And I'm so happy that I don't have to live with regrets about such a landmark season and
Yeah.
like my second opportunity at playing.
Yeah. Well, it was great seeing you. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. It's fantastic. I hope to see
Thank
you again
you.
soon.
I hope to see you too. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.
And that's Survivor 50. What did you think of this season? I really enjoyed it. I mean, fans have said a lot of different things, and it feels like fans are sort of mixed on some things with the season. I thought it was a great season. You know, I loved seeing some of my favorites back, like Ozzy and Cirie, and it was overall a really enjoyable experience. Let me know what you think. I'm H. Alan Scott on everything. Thanks so much for checking out today's episode. Leave a rating and review. You know how that works. And in the meantime, watch something fun today and have a good one.